नमस्कार, सलाम, याली मदद, सत श्री अकाल, हेलो टू कनाडा। आप सबका स्वागत है हमारे प्रोग्राम कैलगरी फोकस में। मैं आपका होस्ट, आपका दोस्त अमृत बराड़, आप सबका स्वागत करता हूं अपने इस प्रोग्राम में और आशा करता हूं कि लास्ट वीक आपका बहुत अच्छा गया होगा, खुशियों से भरा गया होगा, सेहत से भरा गया होगा। ये प्रोग्राम आप देखते हैं हमारे अपने फेवरेट टीवी चैनल पंजाबी नेशनल पर, और आज मैं फिर हाजिर हूँ अपने एक नए गेस्ट के साथ, नई इन्फॉर्मेशन के साथ। ये प्रोग्राम हमारा बेस्ड है कैलगरी के उन लोगों पर जो कि कैलगरी की जनता के लिए या कैलगरी के इकनॉमी के लिए या किसी भी एस्पेक्ट में कुछ योगदान दे रहे हैं। तो उसी तर्ज पर आज हमारे साथ एक सज्जन जुड़े हैं जो कि हमें बताएंगे अपनी कंपनी के बारे में, और वो कंपनी इस समय क्या कर रही है, किस तरह से हेल्प कर रही है हमारे इस Alberta को। Sir, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Sir, first of all, we wanted to speak to you because you are making, or your company is making such an amazing product, and you're dealing with farming or soil, which is a kind of, make things a little bit interesting over here. Because India, I'm from India, and India is known as land of farmers, and it's known as a land where crops are grown at a wide extensive way.
Right.
So to start with, the company name is Airterra, right?
That's correct.
And you're making a product which is called Biochar.
Biochar.
Okay, first of all, let's talk about this product, like how it is unique and what it looks like, and like how it helps the soil or the cultivation or the products or the farmers.
Well, it's unique because it's actually very old.
Okay.
It's an old technology that was discovered by the Amazonians, actually. And probably a number of other indigenous people groups around the world.
Right.
Because it's a product that's made from actually people's stoves. That's how it started out.
Wow.
Was people would be using wood to cook their meals.
Right.
And at the end of the meal, they would have some charcoals left over. So they discovered, especially in the Amazonian rainforests along in Brazil,
right,
they discovered that their charcoals from their stoves, when they put those charcoals into their composts, the kitchen scraps,
right,
it helped the kitchen scraps to compost better, and it made the kitchen scraps, the nutrients that are in the kitchen scraps, more beneficial for the plants.
Right.
And they would take their compost piles and they would make gardens out of them. And they would keep making the gardens bigger and bigger. And the archaeology that's being done in the Amazon now is discovering that there were villages that were millions of people living in them before the Europeans came.
Right.
And many of these villages eventually died because of pandemics.
Right.
That occurred. And they're now rediscovering those villages and the way in which they had anthropogenically built the soil up. And this product that we have is a rediscovery of the benefits of putting charcoal into soils to work as a kind of a soil matrix to hold on to nutrients and moisture and to make those nutrients more available for plants.
It's a kind of science we're talking about, right?
That's right.
But science which everybody can understand, not something which is.
That's right. That's right. Everybody's used charcoal.
Exactly.
But not everybody knows how charcoal is made.
Right.
So people who make charcoal know, but you could make charcoal by accident on this kitchen stove, just by leaving something in a pot on the element with the lid on, where there's no oxygen, and you're heating up the biomass, the material on your stove.
Right, sir.
In the absence of oxygen, so it doesn't combust.
Right.
But what it does do is it creates a lot of smoke. And everybody has had the experience of that in their kitchen. Well, that's exactly how you make biochar. Is you take any kind of biomass, it can be anything from manure to for wood, and you heat it up in the absence of oxygen, and that drives off all of this gas, things that boil off, that vaporize, and that leaves behind a very high carbon content material. It's black, it's charcoal, but depending on how you make it, you can make higher value products, and so it all becomes part of the technology of how you make it. But even if you don't make it with high tech, you can still make very good soils, as they did in the Amazon in 2,000 years ago. So that's how you make it. You make it by heating up biomass in the absence of oxygen until all the volatiles are gone, all of the things that vaporize are gone, and all you leave behind is nice pure carbon. Then it's a matter of how you use it.
Right.
Okay. And the very best way to use charcoal is as a composting ingredient, just the same way that the Amazonians did. And so this is what we're actually promoting the use of our product is as a compost ingredient. It's added at the beginning of the composting process. In fact, there's even research happening in Alberta here where it is being used as an animal feed ingredient, because what's good for the soil is also good for the gut.
Right.
Because the gut for us is like our soil. That's where we get our nutrients.
Absolutely.
And the soil is where plants get their nutrients. And so when you put the charcoal into the gut, you can improve the performance of the microbiology of the gut. Put the charcoal into the soil, you improve the performance of the microbiology in the soil. And this is something that's being discovered at almost every university worldwide, including India and universities in South America and the world. And it's becoming an interesting product developmentally from a biotech perspective.
That's amazing, sir. I would like to say over here, biochar brings benefits to your soil by adding a metric system where nutrients and moisture are stored and where beneficial microbes thrive. Together, nutrients, moisture, microbes, and fungi work to feed plant roots more effectively. Fungi such as mycorrhizal fungi thrive in these environments, adding further nutrient uptake support for plant roots. The major thing is over here, sir, is Airterra the only company which is into this product, or there are a lot of other companies which are making or into this technology?
There are many startups
Right.
beginning to make biochar.
Right.
The difficulty the biochar space has had is that there hasn't been enough of a demand pull from the marketplace to build plants that are commercially sized.
Right.
And so the price of the product is still fairly high because it's being made at small scale.
Right.
And so, you know, it's a matter of the marketplace learning about the product and making use of it for their gardening. Okay, so now our product's being sold to gardeners quite a bit. And then more importantly, that farmers would begin to buy the product.
And that's why you are here,
That's
so that
why-
we can take your word to a lot of people, and especially the people from Southeast Asia, because as we were discussing in the beginning that India, Southeast Asia, you can say, is land of farmers, and a lot of people are into farming.
right.
Things are changing, improving back in India also. If I talk about my country, where I'm from, and people have started new means of cultivation and using new products or trying new things, because before it was just, you know, people knew how to put these seeds and then just cultivate it for a time, and then the crops are there and you just take it out and you just sell it, right? But now things are changing. People have gone into different kind of farmings, different kind of products they are using, because the new generation, they are more educated.
Right.
They are going into you know, and especially the science has been in a phenomenal way, has taken this world in a different way, right? People are knowing new things, and now because of social media or other means, things are reaching far more places where nobody could go there or with their words, right? So now the things are changing, and I hope this product will bring a revolution, especially, you know, when the demand increases, right?
It could very well do that. It also, the other aspect that we haven't even touched at this point is that because it has a high carbon content, and because that carbon came from the atmosphere, when it is used, every ton of amendment of this product into soils is the equivalent of about 2.5 to 3 tons of CO2 removed from the atmosphere.
Wow.
That's because a carbon molecule weighs a carbon dioxide molecule weighs 2.5 to 3, well, actually weighs more than 3 times what a carbon molecule in a biochar weighs. So CO2 is 3 times heavier than carbon on its own. And so it's a phenomenal way to remove carbon from the atmosphere as well, because when this carbon, unlike compost, which is called what we call labile, it's easily changed and decomposed.
Right.
This carbon does not decompose. This carbon stays in the soils for hundreds to thousands of years. So it's not like a fertilizer that you would buy from Cargill,
right,
or a big fertilizer company that you need to put in every single year. This, once the soil has been built up with this biochar,
it stays there.
It stays there. It's been demonstrated to stay there by the archaeological work being done in Amazon. That they're doing carbon dating of the soils there. They're over 2,000 years old.
Amazing. तो आप सुन रहे हैं एक अमेजिंग प्रोडक्ट के बारे में जिसका नाम है बायोचार। एक छोटा सा ब्रेक के बाद हम लोग अपनी बातचीत जारी रखेंगे। देखते रहिए प्रोग्राम कैलगरी फोकस ओनली ऑन पंजाबी नेशनल टेलीविजन पर। वेलकम बैक, एक बार फिर से स्वागत हमारे प्रोग्राम कैलगरी फोकस में। हम लोग बात कर रहे हैं मिस्टर रॉबर्ट लावॉ से, जो कि हमारे साथ जुड़े हैं कंपनी एटेरा से, और वो एक प्रोडक्ट बना रहे हैं जिसका नाम है बायोचार। ये प्रोडक्ट एक तरह से सप्लीमेंट है क्रॉप्स के लिए, प्लांट्स के लिए, जो कि बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट है, और सबसे ज़्यादा इस प्रोडक्ट को पसंद किया जा रहा है क्योंकि ये प्रोडक्ट जो है ये एक बार सॉइल में मिक्स हो जाता है तो वहाँ रहता है। हर बार की तरह आपको फर्टिलाइज़र्स या बहुत सारी चीज़ें डालने की ज़रूरत नहीं पड़ती अगर आपकी सीजनल फार्मिंग है। तो आइए और इस प्रोडक्ट के बारे में जानते हैं और थोड़ी सी और बातें इनसे करते हैं। सो मिस्टर रॉबर्ट, एज यू वर सेइंग दैट दिस biochar remains in the soil.
Correct.
And it can be there for hundreds of years, right?
Correct.
So it means that once we put this product in the land,
Yes.
in the soil, it is mixed. We don't have to, like if it's a seasonal crop, then we don't need more fertilizers to put again and again, right?
No, you don't need this product more, and you'll use less fertilizer.
Less fertilizers,
Because
right?
this is a magnet to hold on to the fertilizer that you put into the ground.
Amazing.
So that even when you are, for example, having green cover crops that you harvest and allow to replenish the nutrients in the soil.
Right.
This is something that farmers are doing now in regenerative agriculture.
Right.
Is in the shoulder years, in the shoulder seasons,
Right.
they will seed cover crops,
Right.
which is what we call green manure, because it's just simply vegetable matter
Right.
that is then harvested and allowed to decompose right on the land and provide nutrients for the next crop.
Right.
This product, when it is in the soil, will hold on to those nutrients, and as soon as a plant begins to die, it begins to volatilize nitrogen
Wow.
into the atmosphere as ammonia or nitrous oxide or other elements, and you lose that fertilizer just right back to the atmosphere right away. With this magnet, this biochar, it has an affinity to hold on to those kinds of gases and those nutrients, because it has positive and negative charges all over its surface, and it has a very large surface area, size of a basketball court. For every gram of this product is a surface area that size, And so the nutrients that are normally just vaporizing get stuck onto the char pieces. So I could be.
Yeah, please.
So what we recommend is having char that's granulated like this.
Right.
So about 2 to 6 millimeters sizes,
Right.
like grains of rice.
Right.
About the same size as
Exactly,
a grain of rice. And those blend well with the soil when it's cultivated and added in, or and it blends well with the compost
Right.
that it's co-composted in
Right.
before it goes onto the soil.
Right.
And that compost then is touching each char piece, and the char pieces absorb the nutrients
Right.
from the compost
Right.
during the process, and
Right.
they actually get coated with these nutrients.
Mm-hmm.
And because of the positive and negative charges, it makes those nutrients actually more available for the plants. Because plants cannot take nutrients up until those nutrients have been what's called ionized. They're solubilized in the soluble format. Because roots can't take solids in, they have to take liquids.
Right.
And so it's solubilized. So in order to solubilize these nutrients, they become positively or negatively charged.
Right.
And then they adhere to the char, and they stick there. And they wait for the plants to actually ask from the soil for the nutrients they need.
Absolutely. This is something
Yeah,
like
it's
a new learning for me.
it's a
Like
technology
yes,
that's-
exactly.
that's,
Like who could ever think that farming can be so
It can be. Yeah, it can be.
interesting, right? Now this product works in any kind of soil, or it has to be like, for example, we talk about India, right?
Yes.
India has a different kind of atmosphere or weather, right? Which is not that cold as compared to Canada. Will this kind of product will work in any kind of weather conditions?
Let me tell you the real charm here. If you think of improving your land as a real estate play, okay, what kind of land would you go and buy if you wanted to make a big improvement to it and earn more back from it when you sell that land? You would buy land that's undeveloped.
Right.
Well, here, all over the world, we have soils that are degraded and depleted of carbon.
Right.
And carbon is a necessary element to enable what I just described. Nutrients to absorb onto the carbon elements in the soil.
Right.
And because our soils are depleted of carbon,
Right.
almost everywhere on the planet, many places on the planet, we have to keep lacing the nutrients because the nutrients are not sticking to the soil. And we have to keep putting more and more nutrients in as we lose more and more carbon. By the way we're doing our agriculture, if we cultivate hard and we add oxygen, it oxidizes and the carbon gets lost. Well, when this is in the soil, it changes the dynamics. It changes the physics and the chemistry and the
Right.
biology of the soil,
Right.
so that the soil becomes more productive. So this actually, the charm is, the worse the soil is, the more the rate of the return on investment from applying this technology.
Right.
Because the increase in crop yield is multiplied sometimes up 200 and 300%.
Wow.
In one case in the Amazon, very sandy, non-nutritious soil that hardly anything could grow in, of course, they got an 800% increase
Wow.
in productivity.
Wow.
But that's because it all depends on what kind of soil you begin with. So the charm is, the more depleted, the poorer the soil,
It will
the
help
better
to
an investment.
Wow, that's amazing. Because if we talk about the areas, I'm talking about India right now. So if you talk about, have you been to India, sir?
No, I've not.
Okay.
I've been close.
It will
I've
be
been
amazing
to
experience if-
Mozambique.
Yeah. Okay. So like in India, it's all diverse, right?
Yes.
Because there are certain areas which are near the sea, right? And it's more rain over there. You talk about a little bit, if we go north, it's called Rajasthan. The farming is done where the area is so dry because it's near the desert, right? And if you go south India, there are rice fields, right? And it's more rain over there, right? So and if you go to Punjab, it's the weather is totally different because you have a cold winter season also over there, and then you have summer season, and all 4 seasons are there.
So the growing seasons are shorter in Punjab.
Yes,
Right.
Yes.
And so I understand the farmers are more rushed
Yes.
to be able to change from rice to wheat.
Exactly.
And I understand that it's hard to remove the stubble
Yes.
and the straw from the rice.
And I was just coming over there. So this product be a very good option for them, right?
Well, it could be, absolutely. One of the things is that you can make biochar from a rice straw. And that straw biochar can be used the same way as what I'm showing you here. And not only that, but something we haven't even spoken about is that 70% of the value of the energy value that was in the original biomass, the feedstock, in case this case it was wood, in Punjab it would be straw. That's what you would make biochar from, because that's what you have plenty of.
Plenty of it, right.
And so instead of burning the field straw and polluting the atmosphere and creating discomfort and health conditions for people, you would use that straw in a kiln, and you would make biochar for the field, just like this, create that matrix, that trellis that hold the nutrients and the moisture. But 70% of the energy value of the feedstock, of the wood or the straw, is in the syngases that come off the process.
Right.
So you can capture that,
Right.
and you can use that as a renewable energy source.
That's the most important part, renewable energy source, right?
Yes.
Because again, like the farmers, they struggle with cleaning the land again for the next crop, right?
That's right.
And if the ground is solid and it gives you with this particular product, it can help them, right?
Yeah, and so less than 2 years ago, a big company in British Columbia called Fortis BC has partnered with another company called Wren Corp to build a great big biochar plant.
Wow.
In Fruitville, British Columbia. And that biochar plant will produce renewable natural gas that will replace fossil carbon gas. And in Punjab, I understand that wood is used to heat many of the stoves and to cook food.
Yes.
I think 80% of all the wood in India comes from Punjab. Well, that is good if there's enough wood available and the farmers are growing enough wood, and that creates a revenue source for them. But the straw, the rice straw, could be another revenue source.
Absolutely.
For renewable gas.
Absolutely. आप देख रहे हैं प्रोग्राम कैलगरी फोकस ओनली ऑन पंजाबी नेशनल टेलीविज़न। हम बात कर रहे हैं मिस्टर रॉबर्ट लवॉ से, जो कि आए हैं एयरटेरा कंपनी से उनके प्रोडक्ट के बारे में बात करने के लिए, जिसको कहते हैं चार, बायोचार। एक छोटा सा ब्रेक, अब ब्रेक के बाद हम अपनी बातचीत जारी रखेंगे। देखते रहिए प्रोग्राम कैलगरी फोकस ओनली ऑन पंजाबी नेशनल टेलीविज़न पर। वेलकम बैक, एक बार फिर से स्वागत हमारे प्रोग्राम में। हम बात कर रहे हैं मिस्टर रॉबर्ट लवॉ से, जो कि आए हैं कंपनी एयरटेरा से, और हम बात कर रहे हैं एक ऐसे प्रोडक्ट की जो कि उनके हिसाब से फार्मर्स के लिए वरदान है, क्योंकि वो आपके फील्ड्स को, सॉइल को ऐसा न्यूट्रिएंट देता है जहाँ पर वो आपका सॉइल काफ़ी देर तक फर्टाइल रहता है और आप उस पर ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा अनाज उगा सकते हैं। मिस्टर रॉबर्ट, हाउ डिड यू got into this? Like, did you grow up at farms, or like you have some family background into farming? Like, because this is something which it can only be done if you love it from heart, right?
Right.
So how did you end up at this?
Yeah, my mother taught me to garden.
Oh wow. Okay.
And so I've had a love of gardening from very young age. But I was born on a farm as well, and that's where my mother grew up on a farm, and I was born there. And my father was a farmer when I was born, but agriculture was very difficult. There were failures, crop failures and things like that. So my father had to leave farming, and he started to drive a truck. It was a petroleum shipping, like gasoline shipping.
Okay.
So that's what he did with his life, and I wanted desperately to be a farmer. But of course, that wasn't in the cards for my early years, and so the thing to do in Alberta was to go to the oil industry. And so that's what I did. I went to the University of Saskatchewan. I got a chemical engineering degree.
Wow.
And a job with Shell Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And so I worked for Shell for 10 years in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a time of up and down with booms and busts and things like that. But the job that I was doing was, interestingly, using carbon dioxide to enhance oil recovery. So I always say that in my early life, in my early career, I was enhancing oil. Now I'm enhancing soil.
So it rhymes.
Yeah.
Soil and oil, sir.
I made a shift from oil to soil. And what happened was I became kind of an expert in the whole this field of carbon capture and sequestration.
Right.
So people will recognize me as from the oil industry as being a person in that space, working on ways of capturing and sequestering carbon geologically.
Right.
Okay, taking CO2 from the atmosphere and putting into geological formations. And I did that for like 30 years, 35 years. And one day, 2008, I learned about biochar. I went, why haven't I heard about this? That, there's another way to take CO2 out of the atmosphere, or to prevent CO2 from going into the atmosphere. There's another way. You can remove it by pyrolysis. That's what we do when we make charcoal, and then store it in the soil instead of into the geological formation. To me, that makes more. In 2009, now at the age of 50, I knew that made more sense, because when you put carbon dioxide into geological formations, even though I think we'll need to do that because we've got so much CO2 to deal with in the atmosphere, and we will need to deal with it. And one of the ways, a big way, is to store it geologically. But there's no benefit to humanity for having CO2 in a geological formation. It's not doing anybody any good there.
Right.
And I wanted to then pivot my career to soil, because this is where carbon can really be beneficial to humanity. And the first thing we did was we went to Kenya. We taught farmers how to build little cooking stoves that would make charcoal at the end of the cooking session instead of ash. And they could use the charcoal in their compost and then use the compost to grow maize.
Wow.
And we did that from 2012 to 2015. And at 2015 we said, okay, now we need to pivot to Canada. But Canada didn't have the rules and the regulations in place to sell a product, and so I worked with a man from the Alberta Innovates. He's now retired and has come out of retirement and has become our operations and technology vice president for Airterra. And he's lending his experience and his knowledge and his organizational capacity as an executive to work with us to bring biochar to a commercial scale.
Amazing.
That's currently what we're doing. We're going to be presenting this to venture capital people over the next couple months. So in order to build a plant near Crossfield, Alberta.
Right.
That will be a commercial, well, it'll be a demonstration size initially and then eventually become commercial.
That's amazing, sir. And we would love to have this product, grow and, reach more masses, more people, because again, I come from the land a land of farmers, right? And this kind of technology and this kind of science can definitely help those farmers who struggle and to get their land ready again and again for the new crop, and this can help them in a big way.
So have you been to Punjab?
Yes, of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, and many people watching.
Yes,
know.
Of course.
And I've not been there, so I can't picture how many trees are there. Is it well treed?
Yes, sir.
Yes?
Yes, sir.
More
Yes,
than
sir.
Alberta?
Yes, sir.
We need you to teach us how to grow trees.
For sure.
Because we're going to need trees. If this goes commercial, we will need trees here.
No, definitely, because again, I can say that it's exchange of a lot of things, right?
Yes.
When we live in such a diverse country over here, that is Canada, and we have people from all over the world loving and living together, right, and under one roof. And a lot of people are from talk about Southeast Asia, and especially from India, from Punjab. Their roots have been in farming, right? Anybody you speak to will have some knowledge about farming, because maybe them or their grandparents or parents were in this business.
Please get a hold of me. Come talk to me about it. 'Cause that's okay, yeah.
Sir, we will finish this conversation today over here on this note that you promise us you will come back and we will talk about this product again more and give more knowledge to the people in a scientific way also. This program was just to introduce you and introduce this product to the people who are our viewers and listeners, so they also know that how this product can help them out.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned, sir. Once again, thank you so much for being on the show. Any last few words before we end today's program?
Thank you very much for having me. This gives me a lot of hope that, I do believe that this will make a huge difference. There is an organization called the International Biochar Initiative. The mandate of that organization is to build this up from almost zero 10 years ago to 1 billion tons of biochar production annually, which is the equivalent of 3 billion tons of CO2 removed from the atmosphere. So we hold out a great deal of hope that this is actually going to happen.
Amazing. तो इसी नोट पर हम लोग आज का प्रोग्राम यहीं पे समाप्त करते हैं। मैं आशा करता हूँ आपको ये इन्फॉर्मेशन बहुत अच्छी लगी होगी। अगले वीक दोबारा मिलेंगे एक नए गेस्ट के साथ, नई इन्फॉर्मेशन के साथ, क्योंकि अगेन आपका भरोसा हमारी जिम्मेदारी है, उम्मीद आपकी कोशिश हमारी है। इसी मैसेज के साथ मैं आपसे विदा लेता हूँ। खुश रहें, मस्त रहें, सुरक्षित रहें। टेक केयर।